On this episode of the Tri-State Freethinkers podcast, join Mandi, Jason, Jim, and myself as you overhear us discussing our celebrations of Christmas. Stay tuned.
So you think that you can tell us how to live our lives, never questioning the source from which our moral code derives. You think that suffering is part of some great plan that's been devised. I wonder.
Tri-State Freethinkers podcast, episode number 1. From January 19th, 2016, how does a Freethinker celebrate the holidays? Hi, I'm Chris Powell. Welcome to the Tri-State Freethinkers podcast. Today we'll be talking about Christmas. With me today is Mandi.
Hello.
Jason.
Hi.
And Jim.
Howdy ho.
So let's go ahead and get this started. Mandi, how did you celebrate Christmas when you were a kid?
We did the usual Christian Christmas. We had a Christmas tree. We had presents and Santa and all that good stuff.
Well, how do you celebrate it now?
Now we tend to put up a Christmas tree still at home. At my extended family, it is still more the traditional Christian holiday. But yeah, ours is more just, it's a tree. It's pretty, it's tradition. I have my South Park ornaments on it. I have my Cartman stocking up. Have my Mr. Hanky out when I go to work. I usually have him on my desk. And it's more just about getting together with family and having a good time. So.
I mean, do your family, I don't know much about your family actually, do they still celebrate Christmas as a religious thing? Or
My extended family do. My mom is kind of more in between, a little more maybe deist. So it's kind of fading from what it was when I was younger. My dad is atheist, so it is more just, it's time to eat and get together with people and presents. So.
Jason, how did you celebrate when you were young?
When I was younger, it was much the same as Mandi. Definitely a Christian. Mother and her side of the family was Catholic. Father was Christian, but swinging between the different denominations a lot when I was younger. One of the focuses was definitely on, the birth, the manger, and the Saint Nick, the Santa Claus, everything kind of secondhand to all that. That was pretty much it. I mean, other than that, your typical kind of, tree, lights, not really much Christmas lights outside the house, all of it internal. Pretty much it. Presents, yeah.
So, how long have you been a Freethinker?
How long have I been a Freethinker? That's going to be going on for quite a few years now.
And how has that changed how you celebrate Christmas? Do you do things different now? Do you most?
Well, the way that we had that I had changed celebrating Christmas. Really, when I joined the military, it's just coming home to visit family. That's all that it really was about. Changing since then, we as my family now, we still put up the Christmas tree. I still put up the Christmas lights. We still do the presents. My children still do, the Santa Claus thing. But that's mostly, he's there in the mall when we're out Christmas shopping. Who's that? What's that about? Kind of deal. So. Kind of give them the story. I don't want to crush them yet. That'll come in their own time once they realize, different things come to reality. Other than that, we've really shifted away. My wife and her family, luckily, is not very into religion, at least in the religious aspects of what some of the different holidays are about, especially with the Christmas time. So these days, we spend Christmas Eve with her family, Christmas Day with my family, and it's just, like Mandi said, just getting together with family and opening presents, having a good time, eating some food. That's about it.
And Jim, last but not least.
Christmas Eve, we used to go to 5 or 6 places, try to visit every family member. Christmas tradition was we didn't go anywhere, and we celebrated with the family. Now, recently, I could give two shits about Christmas. I mean, we don't have a tree up. We don't have lights up. If my daughter was talking about putting up, she wants to put one up. You know, she can. But we don't. Now I just try to make it all about me. It's my birthday. So we do a birthday celebration, and every Christmas from now on, we start a tradition. We invite all the Freethinkers over to come over, hang out, play games. Because what else is a heathen going to do on Christmas?
Sure.
That is one thing I'd kind of like to add with the birthdays and Christmas. My brothers and I both have, all three of us have birthdays early in December. So it was always, you can't have Christmas until after the birthdays. So it'd be very hard having it on the same day and celebrating Christmas.
Most people forget.
Yeah.
Mine's 3 days after Christmas.
Oh, yes.
We all feel the pain.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, December people here. And where's yours?
Mine's in June, so luckily
We're
I
good.
got
Exactly.
exactly 6 months apart. So I get good presents on my birthday and on Christmas.
You were lucky. Either it was I got no presents because they all got doubled up for Christmas,
Yep.
or I got way too much stuff because they wanted to make sure that I didn't feel like I was being left out of my birthday.
Yeah.
But hey, works out nicely. So I mean, a lot of the traditions around this time of year are about Santa, about telling your kids that this imaginary figure exists, pretending strongly that, hey, there's Santa coming, he's watching, he's gonna make sure that you're naughty or nice, and if you're not nice, you're gonna get some coal. And at least now we have Krampus. We'll talk about him later. But what are your feelings of talking like that to your kids? I mean, you're telling them something that's not true. I mean, I realize you don't have kids yet. I don't know if you have kids.
I have two and a third on the way.
Yeah. So you got kids, and Jim and I both have kids, of course. I mean, what are your feelings on this? I mean, as someone who has family that has kids at least.
Right. For me, it's like kids love to imagine things and they love to have fun with their imagination. And so there is some of that magic and illusion with it that can be very fun. But it does, you do have to kind of balance that, yeah, it's not the truth, it is lying to them, and everyone has to kind of figure out their own way, I think, through that. As far as what line do you draw between imaginative play and, okay, that's not reality. But I think it can help kids once they reach a point where you tell them, hey, here is the reality of this, that, that not everything that you hear, just because it's fun or would be nice to believe, doesn't necessarily mean it's true. And it's important to know what's real.
I mean, my 6-year-old daughter asked me last night, we're watching The Grinch, and she says, is The Grinch real, Daddy? And she's 6 years old. I told her, no, he's just a character. But it's like, and I'm thinking to myself, but we're talking to her about Santa, like he's real. We have the stupid elf on the shelf. We'll talk about it later, because that's another one of those things. And we're treating that as it's real, and it's like, I feel torn. On the one hand, this is the Christmas tradition.
I think it's very simple, and I see no need to lie to your kids. When my kids were 2 and 3, they asked me about Santa Claus. And I posed the question to them, do you think Santa comes down a chimney we don't have to give you presents? And they logically walked themselves through it. And the next question came up immediately after that was, what about the Tooth Fairy? I'm like, well, what do you think? And within minutes, they figured out everything. My mother yelled at me for ruining Christmas for them. So the next year, she goes, you're not going to remind them about all stuff. I said my piece. They asked, I'm not going to bring it up. So they went to look at Christmas lights. They took pictures with Santa. My mom calls me all excited that they forgot about all that stuff I told them. It's like, whatever. I'm just not going to lie to my kids. So my kids get back. Remember, now they're 3 and 4. And I said, how was it with Crazy Grandma? It was great. We did pictures with Santa. We did the lights. We played along. She bought it. I think Santa's a good symbol, but there's no reason to bring the supernatural element into it. My kids love the holiday from day one, knowing there was never anything supernatural about it. No reason to lie to the kids. So that is my beef with the supernatural piece of it. I see no reason to have it and why we should lie to our kids about any of those things. My kids still enjoy the Tooth Fairy from day one, and they know it's not real. It doesn't ruin the experience whatsoever.
That's the only thing that doesn't talk.
I would love to be in Jim's boat on this. It is that Man, I guess the best word for it would probably be the indoctrination that's come down through all the generations that we've, constantly had this going on. And I applaud your, courage and strength to, break that cycle, and that you can have that same kind of enjoyment, out of it, as you said, with your children. Santa Claus is, I haven't really had that kind of a discussion with my kids yet. My son's going to be 5. My daughter's 2.5. She doesn't really understand anything yet either. So obviously my son's going to be the first one to have that kind of discussion with. And, Santa Claus not supernatural. I agree with you there. Santa Claus is real. It's me.
My mom still hasn't told me Santa Claus isn't real. She'll tell me to this day, hasn't told me.
Yeah. It's that spirit of giving, that I want them to kind of gain out of the Santa Claus story more than, like you said, the fat man that slides down the non-existent chimney, or gives you the real sex number from Tim Allen's version of Santa Claus.
Well, we're going to take a break right now for some ads, and when we come back, we'll continue talking on this.
All right. We have the Piggest Raffle is one way that we can raise money to help do all the great things that we do at the Tri-State Freethinkers. So if you go to piggestraffle.com, you can buy a pig for $5, and you can that money goes directly to the Tri-State Freethinkers. And you're entered into a raffle to where you could potentially win $5,000 for you and $5,000 for us. So it is the gift that kind of keeps on giving. And there's also a lease of a Toyota Prius and lots of other great prizes that you could win. So please go to piggestraffle.com, buy a piggy, and help us.
So, Elf on the Shelf. That was where I was going to go next after the Santa thing. So what do you think about this new thing that's in our culture?
I just find it really creepy. I mean, I'm not a big fan of dolls anyways. And then let alone it's like the kids are led to believe that this elf is like magically moving around. And then they see a commercial for Chucky or something. And if they're not, if they're not taught that, hey, Elf on a Shelf isn't actually real, that would be really creepy. Separating that fact from fiction, too. It's like...
I never really heard of it until my mother-in-law. She does the Elf on the Shelf for the kids, and I didn't really understand it when she was going through everything, because what is it? The elf
it's watching them, and reports back to Santa.
That you pretty much put somewhere around the house. And you're supposed to move it every night.
Yeah.
And the idea is this is a servant of Santa, so it's a servant of Santa. So a demon that stays in your house and watches what you do and reports it back to Santa every night. And if you touch it or talk to it or do anything to verify that it's real, it will disappear and the magic will go away and you won't get presents for Christmas.
Yeah, that kind of it ties right back to Mandi. I think it was you that said, or maybe Chris, it was you that said, it's that time of year, where always watching. Or now his elf is watching you, and he's reporting back, you're bad or naughty or anything like that. Mm-hmm. It is kind of nice to play the blame game a little bit. That way I'm not saying, hey, I'm not going to give you presents this year because you're being a bad kid. It's Santa. It's Santa's not going to give you presents this year. So that's kind of an okay aspect when they are that really young age. But once they grow up, to that 6, 7, 8 years old, it might be about time. But again, I'm kind of talking from that indoctrinated kind of...
Right. That's the problem, is that feeds right into that religion, is this all-knowing, all-watching thing. No matter if no one sees you do it, if it doesn't hurt anybody else, it doesn't matter. It was seen, and you will be punished for it. So it feeds right in.
And it goes right into the supernatural argument that it shouldn't be there. And I don't want my kids to make a decision based on because they think somebody's watching them. I want them to make the decision because it's the right thing to do, whether nobody's watching them. So... not only is it a supernatural issue, it's a moral issue for me. Mm-hmm. And we also know from our prison that, punishment is not a deterrent to crime.
Right.
So we want our children to be educated and moral and not worry about fear-mongering of something will happen to them if they don't do it. So I disagree totally with the Elf on the Shelf.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on doing it this year, and my wife pulled it out, and it's like, oh, great, we're doing that again. Because last year it was like, I was already getting very... questionable about it, and And this year my daughter's been, make sure you don't touch it. We don't want it to go away. Take its magic with it.
Right.
Oh, great.
And you can have an imagine. My kids have amazing imaginations when they do things. I mean, if you ever seen a player do that,
Right.
just because you don't have supernatural and things they think are real doesn't mean they don't have amazing imaginations. I think that's a myth that people think you're
Right.
taking that away from them, and that's just not true at all.
Yeah. One of those weird, and the fact that it's so new, it's like someone had to think this up and say, hey, let's bring out this new thing to get people to buy stuff. And it
Right.
feeds into companies again, pushing more commercialization, which we really don't want anyway.
And like you said, it's like your daughter's already nervous about doing something wrong
Yeah,
to a doll.
yeah. Keep wanting to say it's just a doll.
If you
It
touch
won't
it, you won't get
do
presents.
anything.
And it's like, what if I slip and I fall and there's the elf? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
no Christmas for me now.
I live in a mixed household, of course. I mean, I'm married to a Christian, so it gets weird that way anyway when it comes to anything dealing with beliefs. I mean, I remember when we first met and were talking about Santa. I was like, well, I'm not going to tell my kids that there's a Santa. I think it's lying, and I was very dead set against it. She says, oh, I believe in Santa. So you believe there's a Santa? Yeah, I believe there's a Santa. You believe there's really a man that flies around the world delivering presents? Oh, no. I believe in the spirit of Santa. Then you believe in giving gifts and stuff. That's not believing in Santa. I believe in Santa. You believe a man, and this argument went on for months. I mean, this is a back and forth, and eventually it got to the point where I went, well, it's a cultural thing, and I understand this is part of our culture, so I'm going to go ahead and do part of this. But still, it still feels to me like lying when I'm talking about Santa to my kids. But we already talked about that, so we won't go back there.
That's the hard thing is with the Christian belief system being so common and so rampant in this area and in many families, it's hard to not acquiesce to that or not fall into line with that and not feel alienated. It's because it just pervades so many things.
Yeah, I mean,
And
Merry
it's like-
Christmas,
right.
Happy New Year,
It
Happy
shouldn't have to be
Holidays,
such a fight.
Merry Xmas. Why are you taking Christ out of Christmas? I mean, the war on Christmas.
Right.
I don't think we're at a war, are we? Are we at a war against Christmas?
Just
Not
try to
against
treat everybody
Christmas.
equal. People don't like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, I have no problem with someone saying Happy Holidays. I have no problem with someone saying Merry Christmas.
Right.
I have no problem with someone saying to me Happy Hanukkah, because if they're telling me that, I understand they're probably celebrating that. Or Happy Kwanzaa, or any of the myriad of holidays that are going on. I mean, Happy Festivus. I mean, to me, saying Happy Holidays encompasses all of it and excludes none.
Right. That's the problem, though, with it being such a religious holiday and the very strong belief in so many people that if you don't believe this way, you're going to hell, makes it easier to demonize anyone who thinks differently. And if you think differently, then you're an agent of Satan and you're evil. It's like, so no one can think differently in their eyes.
Yeah.
I'm Jim Helton, president of the Tri-State Freethinkers. Please come support us at www.tristatefreethinkers.com. With that, we do great things like feed the homeless. We also throw birthday parties for homeless kids and do science-based speakers every month. So join us at the tristatefreethinkers.com.
Go ahead and ask.
Why do you choose to celebrate Christmas?
Well, I celebrate because I figure it's the culture of that I live in, and everyone else is celebrating Christmas, so I figure I'll go ahead and do so too. I mean, I used to not celebrate Halloween, for instance, and then realized about 8 years ago that why am I not celebrating this holiday? It's just a cultural thing. At the time, the reason why I wasn't because it was evil and satanic. But it's like it's just a holiday. It's just time for kids to get candy. I mean, same thing for Christmas. It's a fun time for family and to give gifts. It's part of my cultural heritage. If I had grown up with nothing, I might have been doing Festivus for the rest of us. I mean,
I mean, for me, it's mostly because that's what we've done as since I was a kid, and so more just something that I still retain most of. But it is something I have been thinking about more in the more recent years as far as why am I doing this? You know, the parts that I enjoy, yeah, trying to keep those parts and trying to eliminate other parts that I don't enjoy as much. But the problem is trying to balance that with family members and the religious aspect while still not really being comfortable with it. So it's kind of becoming more and more of a process.
Why do I celebrate? Mostly it's about my kids anymore. That's really the driving factor behind all of it. When I was single and pretty much moved out of the house, it was going back with the family, eating with the family. Yeah, my mom still got me gifts, but I could have kind of done without it. You know, it wasn't really all that important to me. Now, these days, and again, kind of talking back to how, you know, I'm the Santa, you're the Santa, you're the Santa, my wife's the Santa, you know, Mrs. Claus, whatever. Yeah. But yeah, it's you know, I wanna give back to my parents, my mom, really. You know, all those years that she was keeping that tradition alive, keeping that spirit of giving alive. You know, I want to repay her, and at the same time, instill that kind of, you know, giving attitude into my kids. So.
And for me, it's my birthday. So
Yeah.
that's my excuse that I can use. But like you said, it's really the kids. I feel like it would be unfair to them, just like how Jehovah's Witnesses don't celebrate birthdays or Christmas. And I don't see the reason to isolate the kids why I can't give my children something nice because I can. You know, now, you know, so I don't have a problem with that. Now, if my kids were in the equation or they get older, my spouse would be happy just getting rid of it. And I'd be like, yeah, we're out.
Yeah.
But as far as holidays go, I'd get rid of Columbus Day or Thanksgiving first. I mean, those are celebrating genocide. And I mean, so
Right.
this is a lot lesser of the evil
Right.
as far as holidays we need to get rid of. It's not at the top of my list on the pecking order
Right.
of holidays to get rid of. But we've noticed every year we're carrying less and
Yeah.
less and less. Like, and like where you talked about those gift exchanges, like the family and kids,
Right.
because our families are so large, now people aren't even noticing, like, we're just not going to do that this year. Like, don't buy my kids anything. We're not going to buy your kids anything.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, well, don't buy us anything. So we've gradually have eliminated ourselves out of almost all of those, so we
Right.
can just avoid that. So
That's one thing for me, at least from in my family. It's like Thanksgiving isn't really seen as much as a big religious push. With Christmas, it is very in-your-face religion. So that's part of the reason for me that I would probably almost do away more with Christmas in my own family than Thanksgiving. Because that, we just go and we eat. They say prayer, which they say that all the time. So it's really not much different other than a lot of food.
And I wonder how many families, you know, around are exactly in the same type of boat, you know, where don't get me anything, we're in a financial, economic problem, or, you know, maybe even we're
Right.
not, you know, I don't want to get you another gift card. You know,
Exactly.
here's your 50
Right.
bucks, that's what I
Swap.
think about you, you know, or something like that.
Right.
You
Like you're
know,
generous.
regardless of,
$15, that's all I do.
you know, and they and you know, they're just trying to get rid of that naturally anyway.
Exactly.
As you get older, regardless of faith, non-faith, wherever you come from.
Right.
So.
All right. We have the Piggest Raffle is one way that we can raise money to help do all the great things that we do at the Tri-State Freethinkers. So if you go to piggestraffle.com, you can buy a pig for $5. And you can, that money goes directly to the Tri-State Freethinkers. And you're entered into a raffle to where you could potentially win $5,000 for you and $5,000 for us. So it is the gift that kind of keeps on giving. And there's also a lease of a Toyota Prius and lots of other great prizes that you could win. So please go to piggestraffle.com, buy a piggy, and help us.
Talking about Christmas, how do we deal with people who want to see it as a spiritual thing, or who are celebrating things a little bit more out there that we don't really want to go there, but they're part of our family, or they're people that we work with? I mean, I happen to be lucky where I work because they don't call things, but they don't. We're not really supposed to say Merry Christmas. We had a holiday party. Is what we had.
Yeah.
Because pretty much we have people of multiple different faiths.
I think work and family are two different things. So let's start with work first,
Okay.
then we can go to family. With work, I had an argument with my secretary at work where I used my former job because she wanted to put Christmas on there and she wanted to put Hanukkah on there, and I asked her to put all the holidays on there or remove them. And she got mad at me and thought there was a war on Christmas because I was an atheist. I wouldn't. I said, no, I just don't think they should be given special treatment. So please list them all or none. And there was too many to list. Our calendar would have been bogged down by all the things. So it ended up being removed, which I thought was fair. I like companies that are going to the holiday party trying to be exclusive. But if you work at a Christian place, you can't always make that argument. And that's not a fight. You can always. I was in a position of authority, so I could make that argument. You may not be, and just may have to go with the flow.
Right.
I mean,
with mine, through my career, I've always been in very small companies. And yeah, I've never been in a position of power in the company, so it has always been just kind of try to go with the flow. And if it's, if it's to the point of being really offensive or whatever, then, I can say something then. But for the most part, it's just trying to ignore it, trying to ignore the Christmas music all day, every day. When there's really only 20 songs. It's like anyone else, if they played the top 20 at your work all day, every day, and they would start it, at my current job, they used to start it before Thanksgiving. And I'm like, let's do one holiday at a time. And then they started doing that. They started waiting until after Thanksgiving to start the Christmas music. I went, okay. That's a start. I can put in my own music, and that's okay in my earbuds and be okay. And then I was like, can we not play it on my birthday or my brother's birthday? I'm like, can we have at least one of those 2 days where we don't play Christmas music because it's the birthday, So just little things. They took down the Christian calendar in the break room, and now it's just a regular calendar, But they still do. The Secret Santa and the Christmas presents, and it is more Christmas, and it's like, whatever, I'm not touching that. A little progress after I was there for several years, but most of it's just been kind of go with the flow. And
most of it, I think, comes out of ignorance, not intent.
Right.
A lot of companies or employees just don't realize. And if you subtly bring it to their attention, like maybe you're excluding other people, not just me, but there's other people, a lot of them just don't realize.
Right.
So those little wins are good if you can get them, but you have to pick your battles wisely at work.
Exactly.
I think that's different than family.
Yep. Yeah, I've been lucky enough. My last few jobs have been pretty much global, or worldwide companies, and that's actually been their prerogative to not say Merry Christmas, to say Happy Holidays. One call center that I worked at, when we said that, they were like, oh, okay. And they went ahead and took it, and one of my people that worked under me, said Happy Holidays at the end of it, and I listened to the call, and afterwards the lady on the other end was kind of the same, way. Is there a war on Christmas? Why don't you just say Merry Christmas? Why don't you say Happy Holidays? And he actually took it in stride. He was like, well, we don't want to offend anybody if we get somebody from, any kind of different faith that doesn't believe in Christmas exactly that way. The Happy Holidays just kind of covers it and makes it nice and a bit all-inclusive for everybody.
And I think family's different.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and the big thing that comes up around, because I grew up in a large Catholic family, is, how do you deal with prayer?
Yeah.
So I deal with it differently depending on where I am and based on intent. So a lot of times, if I'm in a position to walk out of the room, I'll walk out of the room. But sometimes you might be at a huge table with 50 people and you just can't escape. So I have a couple advice for people to do in these situations. Is one, don't bow your head. And not out of disrespect, but I'm in a room with 50 to 75 people. They say, bow your head, let's pray. And I'm like, damn it. I look up, eyes wide open, and I see 4 or 5 people looking around the room, twiddling their thumbs. Or just like, I'm like, I need to go talk to him. I had no idea. And what about her? Holy shit. Like, I went up and started talking to people and found out that they were heathens just like me, and I would have never known if it wasn't for that prayer. So in that instance, I think it's good. I think when you're in a smaller setting, like with your family, like, in my large family, they may or may not know, but they're not even thinking about that. So I don't take it as a personal attack. But if you're at a smaller family and they know it's an issue, and they're like, we're going to pray, and then I'm like, well, I will excuse myself, and I will make it a point to get up and leave. Like, no, this is, you are doing this and looking at me and doing this prayer, then I will take more issue with that than others. So I will make it a point to get up and leave. My daughter, they told her she couldn't eat they pray before they eat. You can't eat. And she's like, why? And just kept eating. It's like, well, what does that do? And like, well, it blesses the food. Well, what's that do? I'm like, nothing. It's like, then why do it? And she just kept eating. I'm like, these are great questions to ask your aunt.
I wish I could be like that, but I mean, half my family doesn't know, and so usually what I'll do is when they say bow your head, I'll pretty much bow it for a moment and then open my eyes and watch as everyone else prays, because they can't see that I've got my eyes open.
And if they do, their eyes are open as well.
Exactly. Yeah. I try not to make it obvious, but I don't leave the room. No, the most annoying thing was Thanksgiving. My mom turns to me and says, "Go ahead and pray for over the meal, Chris." I just prayed a nonsense thing, and because I don't want to come out to her yet. And it's one of those things of it's hard. I mean, it's hard for someone that's new to all this. And so, I mean, yeah, you're right. You have to pick your battles. I mean, if in a large group, that would be awesome. I haven't been in a large group yet, so.
Yeah, like my aunt, great aunt's 85 years old. I haven't had the conversation with her. She probably knows. She's 85. Yeah. I really don't care.
Yeah, most of my cousins.
Yeah, but but I'm pretty open. I'm pretty out there. I mean, you can see me on the news, so I'm sure they know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure soon.
Found you pretty quickly on YouTube.
Yeah, so
I'm going to be ending up on YouTube a lot now. Yeah.
So it's out there. I think coming out of the closet is important, but I also understand that it has consequences, and they're not all good. Most people end up not caring. My family's not judgmental. They're going to love you no matter what, so it was a little bit easier for me. And they saw my progression over 10 years, so it was a lot easier for me to do. So like, oh, you're an atheist? Oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Like, it was a shock for about 3 seconds. But for other people, I could see where that could be very divisive. I still think it's important to come out of the closet, but I do understand that makes the holidays a lot tougher for people. And they have to weigh. I've seen people lose their families over that.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate.
And that kind of ties in with my Christmas this year. And like you said, kind of the importance of coming out. So that way you can kind of pick your time and pick how you come out. My dad actually ended up showing my grandma a picture of me as we marched in the Pride Parade with our banner of the major obstacle to equality is religion. So that's how my grandma found out that I'm an atheist. And now I'm getting a Bible for Christmas. And it is to shove it down my throat that I'm not living right because I'm not following that Bible. So it's going to be a fun Christmas. And I'm not sure exactly what I want to do yet.
So you're going to ask her how much you can beat your slave before it's okay?
Exactly. I've been thinking about having readings.
It's a very appropriate gift because I'm the only one that's actually read this thing.
Exactly.
So I appreciate it because I'll actually read. I actually read it.
It's very weird how much power that word atheist holds today. And I find that with a lot of other words that we use, most of it comes from the ignorance on the other side of that word. We like to use it because it isn't the only thing that describes us. It's a piece of what describes us. But on the other side of that word is that's it. You don't you don't believe in anything.
Right.
I don't know how many times that I've sat back and talked to somebody or seen somebody else talk to somebody else about what it means to be an atheist, and they're like, "Oh wow, I had no idea."
Right.
That's what you guys were. That makes a lot of sense.
And I think it depends on who you're talking to. You can use different words. I identify as an atheist, freethinker, humanist, secular.
Right.
So some people's like, "Oh, I'm a heathen," and people laugh like it's a joke, and it's a softer thing to some people. Like you wouldn't think that, but heathen is. Or I'll be like, "Oh, I'm not religious."
Right.
And they're like, "Oh, well." They'll assume you're a deist, but it's those baby steps depending on who you talk to. Yeah. Or my favorite is, no, I'm not superstitious.
Yeah.
That's always my personal favorite. But.
Right. And I've used that, I'm not really religious. We don't really go to church. It's kind of how I started at work, because that was something that was brought up starting in at work was, oh, what church do you go to? And there are a lot of Catholics. So, what are you giving up for Lent? And it's like, well, I'm not really religious. I don't really go to church.
I'm giving up God for
Then
Lent.
eventually, that's what I
Giving
think
up
in my
Lent for
head, but I
Lent.
didn't say it at work. Now I say it with a few friends at work, and I'm like, yeah, I gave up religion for Lent.
It's gonna be a tough. What is it? 30 days? 40 days?
I don't remember. I used to do that.
We'll get through it.
Yeah.
You would give up something arbitrary like candy or like a TV show. Well, thanks for making the world a better place. Why don't you actually, there are free thought organizations that are actually doing something on those days. Like, let's go actually make a difference and help other people's lives. Let's do something versus just
Exactly.
giving up chocolate
Yeah.
and then making
Right.
making me miserable and the people around me.
I gave up chocolate one year.
Yeah, every like
Yeah.
what does that
It's
do?
always something,
The-
yeah.
I was a kid, but still. And then the having to eat fish on Fridays. Like, what?
Now there are
Why?
some important things though. Beaver tail is a fish, according to the Pope.
Yes.
So if you are Catholic
Yeah.
and you got tired of fish, you can eat beaver tail.
Yeah.
I almost ordered it for my office because they were all Catholic. On Fridays we have to get cheese pizza, and that was before I was a vegetarian, so I actually like pepperoni. So before I became a vegetarian, I was like, I almost ordered it, but it was like so expensive. I'm like, I still wish I would have done it.
Yeah.
But it was something like $70 a thing or something.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
It's like, what does that have to do with anything?
Yeah.
Stupid traditions.
I'm Jim Helton, president of the Tri-State Freethinkers. Please come support us at www.tristatefreethinkers.com. With that, we do great things like feed the homeless. We also throw birthday parties for homeless kids and do science-based speakers every month. So join us at the tristatefreethinkers.com.
All right. We have the Piggest Raffle is one way that we can raise money to help do all the great things that we do at the Tri-State Freethinkers. So if you go to piggestraffle.com, you can buy a pig for $5, and you can that money goes directly to the Tri-State Freethinkers, and you're entered into a raffle to where you could potentially win $5,000 for you and $5,000 for us. So it is the gift that kind of keeps on giving. And there's also a lease of a Toyota Prius and lots of other great prizes that you could win. So please go to piggestraffle.com, buy a piggy, and help us.
Hey. So I've spent a lot of money on Christmas presents this year. I think I spent $300 on my wife already, and then that's not counting what we're spending on our kids. And then, of course, there's the fact that my wife buys presents for all her nieces and nephews and cousins. Any kid in the family that's a cousin or more, cousin or closer in, that's under 18, she buys a present for. It's like, why are we buying all these people presents that we never see?
Right.
I mean, who do you all buy presents for?
Now it's pretty much just my mom and dad and my husband, and that's really, well, my husband buys his own Christmas presents because he wants things way too expensive, and I keep telling him no, and then finally for Christmas he gets a yes. So he buys it before I can never surprise him with anything. But
Hey, that's my way of doing it. Pretty much anything I don't get on Christmas Day, I get on
You always
Amazon that night and
Yeah.
buy it to be delivered in 2 days.
Oh, he already has his. It's already at the house. But I mean, yeah, a lot of it kind of gets into that guilting. It's like, if you don't get a present for everyone, do you not love someone? Okay, when do you cut off getting presents for child family members? At what point do you stop? Do you do kind of Secret Santa and pick something so that way not having to buy for every single individual? And it just ends up being a lot of stress.
It got out of hand when we were buying stuff for 25 people.
Right.
And at some point, the families get so large that we went to, you just got to draw names. Or people would even realize that even then it was still so many things to be like, do you want the kids? We're not going to do that this year. Great. Like, it became a mutual thing because there was just so many.
Exactly. And when you don't see people but once or twice a year, well, what do they even want?
Yeah.
So then you're just exchanging gift cards, and it's like, why are we doing this?
My mom does something neat for the kids.
You see my monetary value I have on you. There you go.
My mom would always give me a gift. I go, I have an Amazon wish list, right? And she goes, yeah, but I like to get you something. So you'd like to give me something I don't want versus what I want. I appreciate that. But
Yeah.
so I yell at her about that all the time. But for my kids, she does something neat. She buys them an experience. So, like, she always agrees to take them somewhere, where that would be the beach water park or, like, hiking in Cumberland. Like, she'll pick a place and try to give them an experience or zip lining that we can go do as a family, like, in spring or later. Because they know they get spoiled by a lot of the other grandparents and things with presents. So she usually buys them an experience, which is kind of a neat thought for people.
That is awesome.
As we can do as a family trip.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we
that's
always
been
gave
fun.
a list to my mom and sister, and they would never buy anything on them. They would pretty much. I mean, one year we didn't this year because it was like, you're not gonna buy anything on it. We're not even gonna give you a list. I mean, their idea is what they're trying to do. I understand. They're pretty much saying, well, if we get you something on your list, that's really not something personal that we would know that you're wanting, but we don't see them very often. They don't know what we want anymore. So, I mean, for instance, one year my mom got me a set of books from a Christian store that were science fiction-y in basis, and pretty much within a week I had taken them back to the store and gotten some money for them because I didn't want those.
Exactly.
My wife said, we try to get everybody on Amazon wish list. If it's not Amazon wish list, you're going to get an Amazon gift card. Like, if you want it, put it on there. It's a click, simple, easy, done.
Yeah.
Right.
And some of us actually use smile.amazon.com. The Tri-State Freethinkers get 0.5% of all purchases if you put smile.amazon.com.
Which is how I bought my wife's birthday presents.
Yeah, we kind of do the same thing. Yeah, I don't come from a very well off family on any side, so we usually do the names in the hat.
Yeah.
You know, the kids all share names for the other kids. The parents and the adults share all those names. So you end up getting a couple kids, couple adults, and then that's about it. But now that's been over a couple years that's kind of been going on. But I will always buy something for who I'm really close to kind of go that extra mile because if I do what I want, that's what I want to do.
The thing that always bothered me about the Santa idea, because we'll go ahead and start wrapping up here, is that it only really works for families that have money. I mean, if you've got the money to buy presents, it works great. There were many years when I was little, though, where we didn't have money for presents. And so then the entire idea of Santa becomes this really disturbing thing of, well, I didn't get presents this year. Did Santa think I did something bad? I mean, pretty much if you don't have the money, if your family doesn't have money for presents, you really shouldn't be doing Santa because that's going to give the kids pretty much think they've done something bad if they don't get anything.
Yep.
I mean, we happened to be lucky that friends of my parents knew what the issues and actually delivered bags of presents to our front doorstep Christmas Day. So we actually had presents that year. Yeah. But without that, we would have had nothing.
And Mandy tell them about what you did with the Freethinkers about raising gifts. That was a pretty cool idea.
We had the Lighthouse Youth Services had a list of individual homeless youth, ages 24 and under, and they had individual ones, what they individually wanted. So we were able to get gifts for 20 individuals who otherwise wouldn't have gotten anything. Kids all the way up, like I said, to like 24 years old. And then we also did a bunch of general gifts, so even more kids will get gifts for the holidays that otherwise wouldn't have. So that's been a huge thing to try to do more.
And we'll do that again every year. That was pretty neat. People bought some nice things for the
Yeah.
people. I was very surprised when I seen
yeah.
the amount of money the Freethinkers individual members were getting people portable TVs,
Exactly.
MP3 players.
Right.
But you knew that's probably all they were going to get. So
Yeah.
it was a good thing.
That actually was what kind of, I don't even remember how old I was. I was really young. But one year I asked for, I went and sat on Santa's lap in the mall and was like, I've got all these things, but this thing right here, that's what I really, really, really want. And of course my mom, who was really Santa, wasn't sitting there with me. She was off to the side. And come Christmas Day, I opened up my presents. It wasn't anywhere to be found. And instead of me questioning, maybe I've been bad or something like that, I was like, maybe that really wasn't Santa. Maybe that kind of started me down that direction. What really sealed the deal was one night when I woke up at about midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and went downstairs, and there was all the presents. And it was like, wait a minute, that's not. These aren't supposed to be here yet.
Yeah. It's too early.
Well, this is good. I think good place to end. Happy holidays to everyone. And thank you all for joining us.
Happy holidays.
Yes, I understand that my whole life is just a blink of an eye. The history of the earth is with each moment that goes by. But this moment that I'm with you, it feels like time has stood still. It feels somehow like it matters, and that it always will. Thank you so much.